I want to finish with is just playing over the way you look tonight with these types of bebop lines. It's not something that you can say, oh, there is a way to skip that. I don't need to learn that language. Well, you need to, because that's what's going to make you a great improviser. And everything that we've talked about today, the swing rhythms, the modern harmonic progression, and the way chords are put together. And then finally, the bebop language, all of that is the reason why most people fail. It's probably more than 97%. It's because nobody wants to take the time to do that. But if you have it in your soul, and you have the time, and you really want to put in the effort, then one day you'll wake up and you'll be a great improviser. If you are in the early stages of developing as an improviser, I highly recommend you check out my 10-part video course. It's called The Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Jazz Piano. It's 100% free, and you can get the first video in that series right here.
베리 해리스를 공부해보라고 하시네요. 아담보다 더 강력하게 베리 해리스를 공부하라고 하시네요.
Hey there, Jazz Mentalists. It's Paul Toby here. I want to talk to you today about playing better bebop solos by using Barry Harris's added half-step rules for descending lines. But I think a lot of people misinterpret what Barry Harris was trying to accomplish by using these rules. The main point of these half-step rules for descending lines is to play chord tones on the beat. And that gets the hand used to certain positions when it's soloing, so things become automatic. And that's really what you're after as a jazz pianist, making things more automatic so that you can be more creative with your solos. I'm also going to show you at the grand piano some examples of how these are used in a real tune. Also, when we get a little bit further into the video, I'm going to post a video music that we're going to talk about today, so that you can download it, archive it, study it, and use it forever. The first thing that you need to
다운받을 수 있나? 아담 같은 경우는 이게 무료로 오픈되어 있는데. 오, 되는데. 언니 악보 다운받아야 돼. 슈리 악보 하라. 다운이 지금 뭐가 안 되나? 아담처럼 이게 뭐가 잘 안 되는 거구나 싶어도 그렇지는 않네. 코러스는 네이버로 가야 되나? 네이버. 안 되면 어쩔 수 없고. 다운이 아담만큼 신속 빠른 그렇게 오픈 스튜디오만큼 안 되는 걸.
And use it forever. The first thing that you
뭐라고
need to
쓸 수 있다 해서
understand about these extra half step
봤는데
rules is they're really based on the dominant scale. So if we're in the key of F, C7,
이거 확인해보자. 슈리야. 왔어. 이메일 왔어. 진짜. 슈리, 뭐 온 거 알아. 슈리 너 뭐 오는 거 진짜 잘 알아. 응. 슈리만큼 뭐 오는 거 잘하는 아기 없어. 응. 슈리는 어떻게 왔어요? 우리 집에? 응? 외동딸. 슈리 외동딸. 진짜. 오빠는 중국 유학 갔어. 그랬구나. 슈리 피아노. 악보.
F, C7 is the dominant chord for the key of F. The dominant scale is then this. Basically has 7 notes bookend by roots. Now, some people call that a Mixolydian scale, but Barry Harris calls it the dominant 7th scale. So when you play that scale descending, you'll notice that the chord tones do not fall on the beat. 1 and 2, so 2 would be an A, that's not a chord tone. And 3, it's not a chord tone. And 4, not a chord tone. So the idea is to get the chord tones to appear on the beat, and the way you do that is by adding extra half steps. Rule number 1 is if you start on the root, 3rd, 5th, or 7th,
이리 와.
then you add an extra half step between the root and the 7th. So we're starting on 1, add a half step between the root and the 7th. This is a B natural. You're starting on the 3rd. It's the same half step, it's just in a different place. And then starting on the 5th. And then starting on the 7th. So you'll notice in these scales, in every instance, the chord tone now falls on the beat. 1 and 2, that's a chord tone. And 3, that's a chord tone. And 4, that's a chord tone. Down to 1. So that's what you do when starting on the root, 3rd, 5th, or 7th. Let's go on to rule number 2. Rule number 2 is subdivided into 2 rules. This is rule 2A. When starting on the 2nd, 4th, or 6th, you add no half steps. Just follow this scale down and everything on the beat falls on a chord tone. So for example, and then starting on the 4th, and then on the 6th. That's actually pretty simple rules because all you have to do is play the scale. Now, of course, if you start on 2, you're ending up on 1. Because now you have 8 notes that go throughout that entire scale, and chord tones still fall on the beat. Now, of course, if you're swinging this, you would basically play it like this. And the beauty of that is because the chord tones fall on the beat, your hand gets used to playing chord tones where they should be played. All right, let's move on to the second part of Rule 2, which I call Rule 2B. If you start on 2, 4, and 6, just like the first part, you can add 2 half steps between the 2nd and the root, and between the root and the 7th. If we start on 2 and come down the scale, you're adding a half step between 2 and 1. so that would be the D flat. And just like before, add another half step between the root and the seventh. So it sounds like this. Same thing when starting on the fourth. And then starting on the sixth. Again, in every single case, the chord tones fall on the beat. Let's play it one more time. Swing. Okay, that's rule 2B. Let's move on to rule number 3, which is the last rule in these half-step descending lines. Rule number 3 says if you start on 3, 5, or 7, just like the first rule, you can add 3 half steps between the third and the seventh. This doesn't work if you start on 1, but if you start on 3, it can start to work. So instead of just 2 half-step rules, you've got 3. All chromatics between the third and the seventh. Starting on the fifth, and then starting on the seventh. Pretty cool, right? Let's play it swing. There are the 3 half-step rules for descending lines by Barry Harris. Now, I've turned this into an exercise. Rather than do the exercise in the key of F, we're going to do it in the key of B flat. So for B flat, F7 is the dominant chord. So you can see we started with an 8th note here at the end of this line on the and of 4 heading into the next bar. So the goal for this exercise is to play it swing. Starting on the 2nd, the 4th, or the 6th of the scale. Okay, and then